Welcome to my session. So I'm pretty excited to be part of this C# Power Platform Virtual Conference. So I don't want to sound repetitive, but it's always an honor to have the chance to spread my knowledge about Power Platform. So it's been a tough time because of the pandemic. So working from home, I know that is something that could be tough, yes, indeed, but it's helping me to have enough time to invest not only developing with the Power Platform, but also to invest time participating in this kind of events. So thank you, Simon. So thank you, everyone who made that possible. You really made an amazing job putting a lot of speakers worldwide in a simpler way and arranging an amazing schedule. So thank you again. What I'm going to talk about today is about Power Virtualization, but not in a no-dep or a simple low-code perspective. I'm going to go deeper, and I'm going to show you how the pro-deps are trying to handle the reality of the business cases and how the no-dep and the pro-dep profiles are meeting together using the Power Virtualizations. In this case, I'm going to talk about bot framework, I'm going to talk about skills, but let me first quick pass through my introduction because you guys did an amazing work. I've never had an introduction like this, so I think there is nothing left to introduce from myself. Just follow me on social media. I also have a blog, unfortunately it's in Spanish. Of course, there is Bing and Google to use as a translator. And also, I'm a member of the Women for Technical Talks initiative. We try to put women from around the world, or Spanish-speaking women from around the world, and support them to participate in events like this as the speakers, to do the first steps in the speaker world. So I really love this initiative. I'm really having so much fun. And the second initiative, you can also follow us in social media, is the Power Quiz. It is in Spanish as well. And what we do is we hold a monthly competition quiz where people around the world, Spanish-speaking people around the world is competing to each other to win Amazon vouchers. So it is also amazing. I'm having so much fun, and I'm also one of the co-hosts. So going straight to the topic itself that I'm going to introduce to you today. I know that these kind of sessions sometimes could get a bit boring, so I always try to do something different. And I want to talk to you, as I say before, I'm going to introduce a theoretical part. So the half part of my session will be pure theoretical because it is neat. So I need to introduce to you what is a skill, how we develop a skill, but also because there are some prerequisites that we will need to fulfill, and also because there are some requirements that we'll need to meet. So that's why I always try to do something theoretical at the beginning, and then we will move to something practical. And because the theoretical part could be a bit boring, I'll always try to present it in a more dynamic way. So in this case, I'm going to introduce it like a video game. So I'm going to introduce you the main character of our video game. It is the Power Virtualization chatbot. What is a Power Virtualization chatbot? It is a character on the Power Platform video game platform that is capable to interact with people as a real agent, but in fact, it is an automated agent. So it is capable to maintain conversations with our employees, with our customers, but in fact, there is nobody behind. It is an artificial intelligence chatbot who is trying to handle the conversation and trying to solve the main need itself. So this main character is capable of many things, but is provided with two main and more important weapons. So these weapons are the integration with Microsoft Teams and other manual channels. So it means that with just a click, we can provide and we can deploy our Power Virtualization whenever we need. So we can deploy it on Teams, but we can also have our Power Virtualization integrated in our website, omnichannel, or whatever we will need. So the second weapon that our main character has is Power Automate. Power Automate is one of the childs of the Power Platform. I know that there were other sessions about it. And we use Power Automate, so we merge and we mix our powers to provide the availability to the Power Virtual Agent to automate actions on the background. So we are able to automate actions like sending emails, accessing to information, starting approvals, but we are also capable to access information across our organization. So whatever this information is and the Power Virtual Agent is allowed to access, we access this information using the Power Automate. However, this is not enough because sometimes we'll face some special levels in our video game that our Power Virtual Agent won't be able to solve by itself. So on those secret levels, advanced levels, however you would like to call them, we will need some extra power. And for this, Microsoft provides to us the ability to connect our Power Virtual Agent with the real engine behind, that is the bot framework. Because as always in the Power Platform, there is always more powerful on behind. And in this case, on the Power Virtual Agent, we have bot framework, that is the chatbot developing framework that we have in Asia. So that's what Microsoft is providing to us, a way that we can enhance, improve our character, providing to him I will say improved weapons or even more powerful weapons, which could be these situations where we won't have enough with Power Automate and we will need to cover these scenarios with bot framework. For example, if we need to book a flight and we are providing the availability to book flights via our Power Virtual Agent, we will need to call an API. And to call an API is a premium connector within the Power Automate. And perhaps this is not something that we are meeting in our business case scenario. We will need a skill. I'm going to introduce the skills of bot framework to do that. Another situation could be a legacy system where we don't have access, and through a gateway, we will need that. So we can use something developed in Asia in order to achieve that. So how does it work? A skill is a small bot of bot framework that is capable to do actions. So it is a conversation flow that it has normally a main goal, a main objective. So we just use this skill in order to meet the requirement that we will need. So this skill is developed by a pro dev. Why? Because this is bot framework, and even there is a way, and I'm going to show to you an enhanced way to don't have so you don't have or you don't need coding skills. It is an enhanced way to do that. But the ability that is giving Microsoft is to develop a black box that is stored in Asia. And in any case, our node devs profiles, so our citizen developers, can integrate these black boxes in order to improve the character, our Power Virtual Agent. So almost all of the bot framework skills can be integrated with Power Virtual Agents. There are some restrictions, but they are quite just a few. Every time that we connect a skill with the Power Virtual Agent, we are just connecting as an action. And this is a recommendation. Even a skill could be a whole topic itself. I recommend to keep it as simple as possible. So if you need a functionality that you can achieve via Power Platform, then develop this black box, but keep this black box as simple as possible. Otherwise, you are losing control of the whole flow conversation, and the citizen developer will not have the clear perception of what is happening on this black box. Also, because we have some scenarios that an API management could be solved, or because there are some flows that we are developing on behind that they are capable enough to solve our scenarios. Keep in mind that from time to time we are having too many flows on our system, and perhaps these flows yeah, they are capable to solve our problem, so they meet the requirements, but these flows are quite complex to maintain. So please move that to a skill. A skill is better. Skill will be better and also will be more understandable to be maintained. And also we isolate the developing stuff than the real designing. So we are isolating what is the developing phase in our chatbot and the design phase in our chatbot. Also because there's something amazing that you can achieve with the skills that we are still not capable to do with Power Virtualization is that we can send images, videos, adaptive cards, and this is something that will still take time with Power Virtualization. So go ahead and try to create the skills with bot framework and to integrate that. So what I'm going to show you right now is just a few limitations that we'll have. I will explain to you. I'm not going to explain how a skill is developed. I think that it is something pure of bot framework. So this is not a bot framework session. What I'm going to show you is a demo skill that Microsoft has published on the skill GitHub. I'm going to show you how to integrate it with Power Virtualization because the documentation is good from Microsoft, but it's not good enough. So there are quite things that you must take into account, and I will be happy to explain it to you. And honestly, it would have been great if someone previously could solve me and could have explained to me, because you will see that there are few things, but these things are the key. And I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to show you how to deploy a skill on Azure and how to integrate it with Power Virtualization. And I'm going to introduce you the Bot Framework Composer. The Bot Framework Composer is the middle term between ProDep and NoDep. So I'm going to introduce you a new tool that for sure will be your next best friend. Okay, let's go ahead and I continue with this skills capability that we have in Power Virtualization. And this skills capability have some requirements or pre-requirements that we must meet. Sorry. So the first one, of course, I need an Azure subscription. It sounds trivial, but it doesn't. So many of our customers doesn't have Azure subscription because they work purely in the Microsoft modern workplace scenarios in the tenant. So take into account that if you want to develop a skill, you must need an Azure subscription. Second, that you will need Bot Framework SDK 4.7 minimum. I know that we have even higher, but minimum 4.7. And important, the skill cannot have input arrays as input or output. Why this is a big thing that you must be aware of? Because it is so typical in the skills to have output, to have arrays as outputs. When we just figure out when we do an API call and we receive a response, a JSON, and this JSON is an array of objects that could be weather predictions, flights, available receipts, whatever, it is always an array. So be aware of that we cannot have as in inputs and outputs of our skill, we can have arrays. So the next thing is that the manifest version, the proved manifest version that is working is the 2.0. I know that we already have the 2.1, but you might go into an errors if you are working with the 2.1, because there are some options that Power Virtualization is still not happy to deal with. So I don't recommend you to try it. Keep it simple, 2.0. And the last thing, the bot composer skills are good. So I'm going to show you that there is a way to create skills using the bot composer. However, they are not 100% support. And that's a big sign in front of the integration. What does it mean? I can develop Q&As, I can develop Luis Recognizer using my bot framework skills via Visual Studio. Okay, so coding, I can do it. I can publish it in Azure, and this will, with no doubt, will work in Power Virtualization. So perfect. The problem is that if you do that using the bot Framework Composer, that this is the middle term, as I explained to you. I'm going to show it to you. Between the ProDep and the NoDep, you will run into some limitations. And these are the Q&A and the Luis recognizer and other recognizers that are provided with within the Composer. Why? I have no clue, honestly, because it does not make sense. But I don't know, somehow the Composer is deploying the services that the Power Virtualization is still not capable to handle. So if you want to go with Luis or you want to go with Q&A, just keep it in the coding way. So I will show it to you, Visual Studio. If not, feel free to go ahead with Bot Composer. And something important before to go to action and show to you how to do it, I really want to thank Arafat Tassin. He is an AI MVP, and he was someone who 1 year ago, when Microsoft announced the availability of skills for Power Virtualization, he was one of the MVPs who raised the hand and say, okay, that's perfect, but you write down no documentation about it. So he struggled with everything, and he tried to help the people via forums, via blog, to deal with all of the problems that you will see you could face with the manifest. So thank you, Rafat. Without you, I think that the bot developers couldn't be ready right now to work with Power Virtualization. So thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to move to my Visual Studio to show you the first case. And for that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop the presentation. I'm going to open that. And now, yes, I'm going to share. I'm going to move you here, otherwise I can't see you. Perfect. And now what you're seeing is my Visual Studio. So first approach. I am a bot framework developer. I have developed a skill. In this case, it is a skill that recommends to me playlists within Spotify. Perfect. So this skill, it is also available on the Microsoft GitHub. It is quite different, but a copy of this skill or a version of this skill, it is available. So please feel free to go to GitHub, to go to the Bot Framework Components library that Microsoft has published in GitHub. And here you will find a lot of skills, code using C#, and try to download these skills and try to publish them to Azure. This is one of the recommendations that I can give you if you are not familiar enough with Bot Framework. Okay, so one thing that I need to take into account is there are two important files that I need to deal with. One is the manifest, and the second is the app settings. These two files, just look for them. These will be the important ones. So I'm going to move to Azure, and I want to show you how a typical how will be the typical journey to publish this skill. So I'm going to create a resource group. I already have some resource groups, right? Yes. So I'm going to create a resource group or reuse one. So I can create just one. In this case, I'm going to reuse it. And within this resource, what I will need to create is an app web bot. Let me see if I can create it. If not, I will directly create a resource. Perfect. There are two different resources in terms of bot framework. We have the web app bot and we have the bot channel registration. Which are the difference between these two? The web app bot is to host the whole bot configuration and files and everything. So once you publish the bot there, you can access the bot outside from any portal or any access that you might have. The bot channels registration is something different. So you have your own bot hosted anywhere, even if in your computer. And then what you are doing is just a registration, a public registration via Azure in order to have this bot available to be connected with any service that you might have. So be aware of that these two different apps are different, of course, and be aware which one you will need. So in this case, I'm going to create a web app bot. Let's call it C#. Bot power, I don't know. So I'm going to create it within my subscription, and I'm going to choose one of the resource groups. In this case, whatever, I'm going to choose the WhatsApp. And yes, this is it will deploy to me a simple echo bot, whatever. I'm going to republish my bot, so I don't care. Okay, perfect. 1K premium messages, application insights, I really don't need them. And it will automatically create my app and my password. Perfect. So what we are doing right now is providing a bot resource. It will take a while. So once we have created, we will move, first of all, we will need the URL where this resource is published, and we will need the app. This is something that we will need to configure the manifest. And after that, I will need the app ID again. I will need the secret app ID. And I will need something important in this case that will be the Power Virtualization ID. So let me check if that has been created. I don't know within which one I have created. I think bots one. It will take a while, right? Yes. So let's wait. Just likely it won't take so long. Perfect. Thank you. So once I have this resource, within this resource, what I have is the configuration. Here I have the app ID, and something important is this URL. This URL, you must put it on your manifest. So I come back here, I select within the endpoint, I select the API messages URL, and I will need the app ID. For do that, I go to manage, because this is something that you will need manually to do. The first thing is because I can get the secret ID, I want to create a new one. So I copy that, I come back to my Visual Studio, I go to the app settings, and where it says secret or password app, I set that one. And the next thing I'm going to do is moving to branding. Something that you must take into account is that when you are publishing a bot within an Azure resource, you must fulfill this. Otherwise, it will work, but Power Virtualization won't be capable to call your bot. So here, what you will need the URL of your bot. So which is the URL, that is the URL where my bot is stored. So I'm going to put that. And here you can just write down any website that could meet the requirements. So I'm going to save that. And the last but not least, of course, I'm going to overview and I'm going to copy the application ID. Once I copy the application ID, I need to replace it in two sites. One here and the second one on the app settings. Perfect. And I just save it. Once I want to publish, I go back here, and with the right click, I go to publish. I apologize because perhaps this is shown, it is shown in Spanish, but I'm going to translate every step. So I click to initiate, I select Azure, I click to next, and then I select Azure App Service, I click to next, I select my subscription, I select the group of resources, I don't remember, here. I select the bot subs resource, and then I select where I know that my bot is going to be stored and where I'm linking, in which resource I'm linking my skill with. Once I finish, I can just click publish. I'm not going to publish because it takes quite a long. It is deploying all the packages. So that's not the important part here, because this won't work without a second step. Once we have configured our Azure resource, we must be aware of that now this bot is published in Asia. Perfect, it will work, but we need somehow to link it with Power Virtual Agent. So now I'm going to the Power Virtual Agent that I have created. This is a simple test bot. I even didn't change, right? Yes, I even didn't change any of the topics, and I moved to skills. Once I move to skills, I need to copy the ID of the bot. This is something important because otherwise this won't work. Even if you have here an asterisk saying, yeah, everyone can call this bot and everyone can use it, you must specify the Power Virtual Agent. Otherwise, the Power Virtual Agent won't recognize this app as allowed. So take it into account. And the second thing that we will need to do is when we add the skill, and this is something that I'm going to show you apart. So in the second scenario, I will need to provide the skill manifest. The skill manifest, normally, if you are coding, so if you are working with bot framework directly, you will find it if you go here, you just copy the URL, and this will be manifest in singular because by default, the structure of bot framework, it is in singular. And then, so the manifest that you would like to use, the manifest 1.0, 1.1, or 2.1 if you have it. So just the manifest, I don't know, the name that you might have, JSON, and then boom, next. And that's all if you're working from Visual Studio. Of course, every change that you might do here, remember always to publish it with the lower color, otherwise the Power Virtual Agent won't recognize the bot as allowed. So that's one approach, which are the pros and the contras. Pros, you have more control of everything that is happening. You have more control of the configuration itself. Of course, the contras, you must know how to develop in bot framework. And that is something that I understand that someone that is moving through the journey from a no app and is converting itself or herself or himself, sorry, to a pro app, it is an stupa to must start learning bot framework. For that journey and for that approach, Microsoft start with the bot composer. Second scenario that I'm going to show you. So I close everything and I open my bot framework composer. What is bot framework composer? If you are familiar with Power Automate, if you are familiar with Power Virtual Agent, so if you are familiar with the flow structure itself, so with the flow chart, if you have the feeling that you can deal with most all of the expressions of Power Automate, if you have the feeling that even if you are not a pro dev, you feel yourself comfortable with the whole low code, I will say that there is in the Power Platform, I really encourage you to try out Bot Framework Composer. You just download it from Microsoft website. It's completely free. You don't need a license at all till you want to publish the bot. So what I'm going to show you right now is from zero to the end, how we create a skill with Bot Framework Composer and how we publish it in Power Virtual Agent. One scenario that I'm going to cover is something that I already introduced to you. We are not allowed with Power Virtual Agent to send to our end user adaptive cards. And I think that this is a must nowadays because, if you want to interact, if you want to provide an enhanced experience for your user, an adaptive card is a must go. So I think that this is a scenario that, again, even if you have no idea of artificial intelligence, you never dealt with Luis, I will encourage you to start with this scenario. So no words, I will go ahead. I know that I really like to explain everything, sorry. There are times that I don't know how to find my words, and there are times that I'm explaining myself too much, I know. I'm going to create a new bot, and in this case, I'm going to create it from a template, from the Responding with Cards template. Once I create it, this will be my skill that will show adaptive cards. This is how my skill will look like. And this skill, as a coding skill could be, will be stored on my computer. Okay, so I click OK. And one thing that is providing Composer to us is an already predefined structure of our skill. So what is doing this skill? What is doing is printing adaptive cars. So next thing, because I think I'm running in time for the first time in my life, I'm not wasting time. One thing I want to show you. Okay, I'm developing a bot, Mar. I'm using the bot framework Composer because I feel confident enough, but I don't want to publish the bot till I can test it. And for that, we have the bot framework emulator. So I think that there are only one emulator installed in this computer. Yeah. So I have the bot framework emulator where I can test my bot from the Composer, even from Visual Studio. I didn't test it, but this will work again. And I can directly start the bot, and then I will show you what this skill does. So I click to starting bot. It takes a while to deploy the bot on the emulator. And this is a good way if you are not confident enough if the whole scenario is working. So please first test it and then deploy it. It's asking me for permission. I'm going to allow it. And it says that is running. No, you don't have to install any update. And I'm going to click test in emulator now. No, again. So what I'm doing right now is testing the skill itself. So the skill, it has a welcome message. So once I post any message that the user is posting, the skill has already a list of options that the user can choose within. So I can choose which kind of adaptive car I want to see. So anytime I post a message, it shows up the options again. And what it's doing is simple showing the multiple, adaptive cars options that we have. Simple skill, honestly. Okay, I'm going to stop testing and stop the bot itself. Otherwise, if you don't stop it, you can publish it. Take it into account. And once I publish it, I'm going to do some arrangements. Why? And that's something that you must take into account if it's your first experience with bot framework. When you work with Power Automate, you call the flow, and once the flow has finished, the action finished, and the next step of the flow chart of the Power Virtualization continues. If you're working with Power with a skill from bot framework, this skill could take as long as you want. So this skill could have as many sub-actions, multiple branches, and even subtopics as you want, till you decide that the skill stops executing. And this is something that, as you saw, this skill is just running all time. So every time I post something, the skill is showing up the options again. I have to choose an option, then it's showing up the options again. So somehow I want to provide the availability to the user to stop it. And it will be a good chance to show you that this is easier as you may expect. So these are the options that we have. We can see all the cards. We can see video cards, login adaptive cards. And I'm going to show another option that is just finish. This option will allow to the user to stop this non-ending looping. And I'm going to inform to the looping itself, to the switch options itself, that there is a new option. This is the finish option. And once I introduce this new option, let me see if it has. Oh, I didn't, right? Yes. Exactly. And once I introduce this new option, a new branch is created. And what I'm going to do is, whenever the user selects the option finish, just stop the skill. Stop the skill and come back to wherever or whoever called you, in this case, the Power Virtual Agent. And that is something that please be aware of. If you are creating skills, the music skill had the same problem. So there is an end dialogue. Always when you develop a skill, you must have an end dialogue. Otherwise, it will execute with non-ending, as a non-ending loop. Okay, so we have our configuration. And next thing I'm going to do is to publish. To publish, I could publish it in a already created Azure, as I did before, but I'm going to show you how to create an Azure resource from here, from the Composer, so you don't have to do it from the Azure dashboard. So I don't know, I'm going to call it Power Tenant Profile. I'm not so, I don't have so much imagination, honestly. I'm quite simple. And then it asks me which kind of publishing profile is that. There is an option that is to publish directly from Power Virtual Agent. Honestly, I know that from Power Virtual Agent, you can open the Composer. It allows us to create a skill. But then if you try to publish it, I really try it out, honestly, and I put a lot of efforts. I know that there is not so much people in the world trying this, so we are still facing some configuration problems. Perhaps this is still on preview, but let's keep it simple, and we are going to create a web app again. Do you remember, as we did before, directly from the Azure board? So I'm going to create a new one. It asks me the subscription. You can see the main differences here. And now I'm going to create a new subscription within my Azure, a new resource within my Azure. It says me that it already exists, version 2. Okay, and now the locations, I don't care because I really not going to use any Luis or Q&A. And be aware of that optionally and predefine it, it selects multiple and optional applications that will be deployed on behind in parallel, but we don't need them for this simple case of use. So, use case, sorry. I click done. It is creating the Azure resource, and because I'm already logged in using my Azure profile, is everything doing on behind, so I don't have to do anything by myself. So once this, because I have already reached the maximum. Let me try it again. Yes, perhaps I have created too many. But it is still here. Okay, let me remove one because honestly I don't need so many. But there are so many skills that I have created by myself, and this is just an Azure tenant subscription. I hope this will allow me to publish the skill itself. Okay, so this being deleted. I'm going to close the emulator and coming back here. Okay, so once I have done that, the next step I'm going to do is, do you remember that I need the AppID, the secret ID? Do you remember that we did it on Visual Studio? So on the Visual Studio scenario, we have to repeat it again. So that is something that is not pre-filled by default, so you have to do it. And you must be aware of that, so it's not everything so easy. Okay, I see that it could not create the profile. It always let me publish it. I'm going to delete the original one because it could not create. We are still on time, so I'm not worried. I'm going to delete that. It's always the same. You must pay. Okay, so I think it will be enough. Is deleting the resource, and I think that we can go ahead. So I'm going to create a Power Tenant profile. I need a web app resource inside. I'm going to create a new Azure resource because I don't want to mix the resources for every demo I do. This will be the C# demo skill, whatever you would like to know better in terms of distance. I'm going to unselect everything, so no pain, and I'm going to creating done. Hopefully it will allow me to create the resource, hopefully. Otherwise, I will need to reuse the old one. Come on. So the next step, as I was saying, is we need to configure the public URL again, and we need the AppID and the secret AppID in order to configure the bot, because this is something that by default isn't done, is not done. So yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new manifest. Remember, we will stay on the 2.0 manifest. This will be the version 1.0. The publisher name will be Power Tenant. And I'm going to next. The endpoints. This is something that please be aware of. This is by default. You must always create a default. Here we can put the description, show multiple adaptive cards. This is the endpoint that our chatbot has. And yes, perfect. We will need the SharePoint URL. We will need the endpoint URL. To do that, I come back to the resources. Hopefully, we have the new resource here. Yes. Into this resource, we have our C# resource. And within this C# resource, I have my URL. And this is the messaging URL endpoint that I must establish here. The next thing I need is the AppID. So I come back here, I go to configuration, I go to manage. And first thing I'm going to do is go to overview and to copy the AppID. So again, this is something that we have to do, and I will take that because I will need it. I will need the URL where my resource is stored. So I'm going to click next. I'm going to publish the skill itself. I'm going to publish a simple skill that I have, and I'm going to create save. And please don't have a long manifest, otherwise it will be difficult for you to remember which was the name. So just keep it manifest 2.0. And now you don't allow me to put, okay, so then just skill manifest together and save. So once we have created that, I come back to my resource. I go to branding. Remember, we have to fill these fields. So https portal.office.com. HTTPS, sorry. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to save it. And important, I will need the secret. So I'm going to create a new secret and copy it. And next thing I will need to do is I go back to my manifest. I can edit the manifest still. I go to next, yes, generate. And everything that I have here is the manifest itself that it will work. So please be aware of that everything is correct. In this case, we have our endpoints. We have, if we could have some activities, some other outputs, inputs. In this case, is quite simple. So we have everything, and this is the skill manifest. Perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is I need somehow to provide the ability to call this skill from Power Virtualization. So as you remember, we have these allowed colors that we must fill. So I come back to my Power Virtualization, I copy the ID, I come back here, and between these brackets, I insert the ID, and it's automatically saved. I don't have to do anything. And important, now what I have to do, hopefully I didn't miss anything. I have to publish the bot in order to make it available. So the configuration of the skill itself will be available for anyone, in this case for Power Virtual Agent, to be called. So cross your fingers. I hope it works. And in these 5 minutes left I have, the next thing I will do is to come back here and add the skill. So I just copy the URL, sorry. I come back here, I had the URL. And in this case, if you are using the bot framework composer, the manifest will be on manifest and will be on a skill manifest.json. So is it still publishing the bot? Sometimes it takes too long. Come on. I hopefully will. Yes, perfect. Let's see if it's working. I think it was skill manifest. Yeah, perhaps this is still not published. Okay, let me check again. The publish was done. We have the manifest itself. I just want skill manifest.json, right? So what I'm going to do is to see if I can access to the manifest skill manifest.json. Okay, so the resource has been published, but it seems that it's being still published. It could take a while. Yeah, this is the demo. How would you say it? Is the demo experience. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, yeah, this is the on live situations. Now, perfect. So now that is live, now I can try again. And hopefully it will work. And I will show you how to call the skill. Oh my God. Actions are missing. Yeah, perhaps there is something. I still have time. Come on, Mar. Just take a look. If not, there is another way. Edit, power tenant. There is a default. Yes. Perhaps because I missed to generate it. Next. Yes. And to publish it. Okay. In between, I'm going to share with you some thoughts about it. Okay, so in this case, there is a good chance to improve our Power Virtual Agent. There is still some issues with the manifest itself. So anytime that you are doing that and you are having these errors from Power Virtual Agent, look at the documentation of Microsoft and look for the error. Otherwise, the errors itself are really difficult to understand. So my recommendation is to do that. And you can call after that let me see if it published. No, it's taking too long. I am really sorry because I know that there is a next session, but I'm just introducing to you. So what you will need to do is go directly with the topics, and instead of calling a Power Automate action, you will have the viability, so it will appear here. I am really sorry because it took too longer. It will appear to you the skills that you have deployed. And at any time, you can add the action within your conversation. Be aware of the end dialog status, so be aware of when the skill starts and when the skill finishes. And that's all, Simon. I'm really sorry because it took too longer. It seems that it is finished published, but it is taking too longer. So go ahead and just cut me off. I know that you must continue. Yay. So as I told you, once you have the skill, come on. It will be ready to be used to any Power Virtual agent. So you can add as many Power Virtual agent, as many allowed callers as you want. So that's the good point here. You don't have to recreate the flow. You know that if the bots are in different solutions, you must recreate the flows and it will populate too many flows. So in this case, the skill is unique and you just need to call it from here. So here you have your skill. You just need to close that, and I don't know, this is just a simple case, so store hours to trigger this conversation. And once you trigger the skill will start working, will show you the options, and bam, you will have the availability to, in this case, to show any adaptive card. And that's not possible, as I mentioned, that's not possible. And in any case, you can continue triggering the action till you decide to finish the skill, and then the Power Virtual agent continues. Woo! On time. So that's all for today.